Hello everyone, my name is Ken. I love the game. I assume you do as well. That's probably why you're here. Today we are going to be talking about Dead by Daylight. This will be a complete beginner's guide to Dead by Daylight. If you're already a pro, probably not the video for you, but you're welcome to stay and watch because you might learn something, you never know. Before we jump into the actual ins and outs and strategies and stuff like that, I just want to briefly touch on what is Dead by Daylight. Well, basically, Dead by Daylight is a game where you die a lot. Now that we have gone over what Dead by Daylight, no, I'm just kidding. But for real, what is Dead by Daylight? In a nutshell, it is a game where 4 survivors are teamed up against 1 killer and they are tasked with repairing 5 out of a total of 7 generators that have spawned on the map. Once they have completed 5 generators, that will power the exit gates and they must make their way to one of the 2 exit gates, open the door and escape, hopefully with their lives. Alright guys, I got my gaming hat on. You know what that means. Time to get serious, get down to business. Let's talk about some of the things that you need to do to actually get in there and get surviving. You've got the game installed, you know what the goal of the game is. Time to start repairing some generators and opening some exit gates, right? Wrong. Before we can do any of that, what we need to do is create a loadout that is going to assist you in all of that. I recommend one of these 2 first characters. They will both be automatically unlocked when you start the game, along with a few other ones. Dwight has a very awesome perk that is called Bond, and what it will do is reveal the aura of any one of your teammates that are within a specific range of your current position. At the highest level, which is tier 3, that range is 36 meters, which is amazing. However, the tier 1 and tier 2 will have slightly smaller ranges and they're still super helpful, just not quite as big of a range. So that's a very good pick. And then if you don't like that one, I think my top pick would probably be to just start with Meg Thomas, which is what a lot of people do, but for good reason. She has a awesome perk called Sprint Burst, and what this perk will do is exactly what it sounds like. As long as your character is not in the exhausted status effect, then if you sprint, she will get a huge burst of speed and take off, and the killer won't even know what hit them. It can come in super clutch even if you don't really use it in any specific strategy and you just kind of throw it on your class and just play like you would normally play. However, there are some tips and tricks that I will talk about a little bit later in the video to utilize it a bit better. Now, she also has a perk that is called Adrenaline, and what this perk will do is if it gets to the end game, meaning all 5 generators have been repaired and the exit gates are now powered, it will actually heal you if you are in the injured state. It will take you to the fully healed state, which is amazing, and it can make the end game so much less stressful. And on top of that, you will also get a huge, kind of like a sprint burst, if you will. It's pretty much the same as a sprint burst if it goes into that end game. You'll get that for 3 seconds, which can give you a nice head start to make your way over to the exit gates, or to get last second, ditch the killer, something like that. So I honestly recommend using her. Throw on those 2 perks, and then you can pick from any of the other ones that you've unlocked just by upgrading your blood web. You do need to unlock level 15 on the blood web if you want to be able to use all 4 of your perk slots. So I recommend that if you've done the tutorial, you should be able to do that even before you play your first game. So play the tutorial, unlock all 4 perk slots by getting your character to level 15, throw on Adrenaline and throw on Sprint Burst, and then 2 other perks that I would recommend, one of which is called Deja Vu. This perk will show the 3 generators on the map that are within the closest proximity to each other, which is awesome in its own that it's showing you where 3 generators are, because sometimes it can be tricky to even find a generator to work on. But it will also give you a repair speed bonus if you're working on one of those highlighted generators, plus some other little kind of strategies in that as well that I'll touch on later as well. So yeah, Deja Vu is an awesome one. If you happen to unlock that in your blood web while you're trying to get up to level 15, throw that on. And the final perk that I recommend if you happen to unlock it in your blood web just by going up to level 15 is called Kindred. And what this perk will do, let's say the killer has put you on the hook and you are waiting for your team to come rescue you, it will actually actually reveal the killer's aura to your entire team as long as the killer is within up to 16 meters of you, depending on what tier your perk is at. And then if one of your teammates gets hooked, it will actually do the same thing, but just for you specifically instead of for your whole team. So you will see the killer's aura and you will see all of your teammates' auras, which can be awesome, especially if you're not sure if you need to be hopping off your generator to go help your teammate get off the hook, or if one of your teammates is already going for the hook. This will share that information with you, and it can be super valuable to help you stay efficient. So yeah, throw on Kindred, throw on Deja Vu on top of already having the Adrenaline and Sprint Burst, and you are off to a great start. Also, just keep in mind, you can actually use any perk that belongs to a specific survivor on any other survivor. There is just one little thing that you have to do first, which is prestiging that character. For instance, if I want to be able to use Sprint Burst or Adrenaline on any survivor of my choice, I would need to go into Meg's Blood Web, get her all the way up to level 50, and then prestige her. And that would automatically unlock all 3 of her perks for me to use on any survivor of my choice. And then if I wanted to unlock all of them automatically at tier 2 for every survivor, then I would have to prestige her a second time, and the same for tier 3. So you can do that. My preference right now has actually been to go ahead and go through every single survivor and try to prestige them once, just so that I can get that base tier 1 perk on every single survivor. And then after that, I will start going for prestige 2 on my favorite perks. But yeah, just keep that in mind. You can use every single perk eventually on every survivor, but in the beginning, until you have prestiged the character who owns those specific perks, you will only be able to use them on that survivor. Now let's talk about the items. You're probably going to unlock some toolboxes and some med packs and potentially some flashlights just from doing your blood web. If you're newer, I would start with just probably a med pack, maybe a toolbox. One of those two is probably your best bet. You can try to do a flashlight, get fancy with it, but honestly, I would try to focus on the basics at first. So yeah, just throw on a med pack, throw on a couple of attachments that boost your med pack charges, and just find an offering that gives you additional blood points. Honestly, is usually what I do. Sometimes people like to use offerings for various things, such as choosing the location that the hatch will spawn, which I will include later in the video as well. So yeah, I'll touch more on that. But honestly, just throw on something that's going to earn you some more blood points so that you can get leveling up your blood web and unlocking more and better perks. All right, so after adding all of these things to your loadout, it should look something similar to this. Might look a little bit different depending on what tier of items you've selected, but it should look something similar to this. And at the end of this video, I am actually going to hop into a match and kind of walk you guys through my thought process of why I'm doing things and why I chose this loadout for you. So stay tuned for that at the end of this video.
And now, the moment we have all been waiting for.
It's finally about to get exciting. Let's get into it and talk about the things that you can do in game to actually increase your chances of surviving, getting out the exit gates, and laughing in the killer's face. Okay, so first tip I have is to always be productive whenever you possibly can. As you can see right now, my teammate down there who just got hit is still actively being chased. This means that I need to be spending my time working on a generator, so I just found this one. I'm gonna get straight to work. Don't wanna waste any time just standing around if I am not in risk of being chased by the killer. So I'm just gonna pay attention to my heads up display down there, watch and listen for my heartbeat to start thumping, and just plug away at this generator. If you're doing something that's like hiding and stealthing and just hiding in a locker or a bush or something, and your teammate is actively being chased, then you are doing nothing other than just wasting your time and your team's time, which is going to decrease your chance of getting out alive. So yeah, the biggest thing that I want to stress is always be productive, whether it's working on a generator or if it's healing a teammate, or you know, sometimes you do have to be the one being chased and trying to waste the killer's time. Be doing something. Now, speaking of being productive, anytime you are working on a generator, or if you are healing yourself or healing a teammate, the game is going to throw skill checks at you. So you are going to want to listen for this sound. And that is your warning that a skill check is coming your way, and you need to focus up so that you can hit the space bar, or I think on Xbox it is LB, and on PlayStation I believe it's L1. I could be wrong on the console side of things, but I'm pretty sure. But listen for that sound and hit the correct button at the correct time. That way you do not fail the skill check, because if you do fail the skill check, this will happen. And that notifies the killer of your location, and it also regresses the progress of the generator by about 10%. Now you can see the killer's already coming my way. Now, if you do hit a skill check in that little tiny white zone, that is called a great skill check, and it will actually give you a 1% progress bonus, and it will give you some additional blood points, but it can be a little risky, especially if you're not that comfortable with the timing. So just make sure that if you're not that comfortable with the timing, just get a normal skill check. A good one is fine. It's not that big of a deal. However, if you feel like you're pretty confident on the timing and everything, try to hit those great skill checks. It might help. And when you're healing, I believe it's actually a 3% bonus instead of just a 1% bonus. So as you can see, I'm gonna go for a great skill check on this one. And if I hit it, you'll see the progression bar go up just a little tiny bit faster than it normally would. Just like that. I'm sure most of you are well aware that the killer plays in first person while the survivors play in third person. So my next tip is to use your third person camera view to your advantage as much as you possibly can. This can benefit you in so many situations, whether it's picking the best spot on a generator to give yourself the best view of the map while working on it, or if it's looking behind you while you're being chased by the killer to see how much room you have to make it to the next vault or pallet or window or whatever you need.
Gotcha, bitch!
Or even if it's just looking over objects while you're being chased so that you can determine if you need to double back or keep moving the way you were moving. Learning how to master the third person camera angle is one of the biggest things that will help you in this game. So moving on, the next thing that I would like to talk about is status effects. This is a very important part of your heads-up display, and it will be shown on the right side of your screen, so always try to pay at least a little bit of attention to what's going on with your status effects. Honestly, there are so many status effects in this game that I could probably make a whole video specifically about status effects, but there are a few very important ones that I want to touch on to make sure that you're aware of. First and foremost is going to be the exhausted status effect, which makes it so that if you have a perk on that would speed you up, such as in this clip I am using light, then it will not activate if you are under the exhausted status effect. So when you can see I run up and I vault this first window right around the corner here, I will get the little yellow icon indicating that I am getting a speed boost, along with the little heart icon which is indicating that I am now exhausted, which makes it so that my light will not activate when I hop through that second window, so I do not get a speed boost. And anytime you are sprinting, that exhausted status effect timer will not go down. It will, however, go down anytime you are either walking, standing still, working on a generator, healing, basically anything that does not involve sprinting. Next up is the exposed status effect, and due to its name, a lot of people think that this actually reveals your position to the killer, but that is not the case whatsoever. What it actually does is causes you to take twice as much damage as you normally would, making it so that a killer that would normally take 2 hits to kill you will actually now only take 1 hit to kill you, which is pretty game changing, and in my opinion probably the most game changing status effect. So make sure that you pay attention for this one. And also, oftentimes this status effect is caused by a hex perk that the killer could be running, and if that's the case, you will also see the little hex icon above it. You need to find that hex totem and cleanse it as soon as you possibly can so that you can get rid of that status effect. Yo, we're not exposed. Now, speaking of the hex status effect, there are all sorts of effects that could be tied to the hex, anywhere from generator progression being slowed down to skill checks being affected, or your location being revealed to the killer via auras or via your screams, pallets being blocked so that you cannot throw them to stun or block the killer. So generally speaking, it's a pretty good idea to find that hex totem and cleanse it as soon as you see that there is a hex. Now, these next couple tips are going to be directly related to keeping your teammates alive as long as you can, in order to keep a lot of pressure on the killer and pressure on the generators, which will make it a lot more likely that you are going to get out alive because the killer has so much more to worry about. So my next tip is be willing to take hits for your teammates, and hopefully vice versa. Hopefully they will do the same for you. As you can see in this clip right here, I was about to die. My teammate comes in, gets behind me, and forces the killer to hit him instead of me because he was full health and I was not, and that gave us time for me to get over here, finish opening up the exit gate, and both of us to escape with our lives. So teamwork makes the dream work. Be willing to take hits for your teammates. And similarly to tip number 4, this next tip is a little bit counterintuitive. It can seem a little bit weird to purposely get chased, since the idea of the game is to not die, but sometimes it just makes sense. It can be smart to take the chase away from one of your teammates and have the killer come after you. So as you can see right here, I am trying to get this clown's attention so that he will chase me instead of that Sable, because I have not been hooked yet and I'm the only healthy survivor. My other 2 teammates have been hooked once and twice, and they are both injured. So I need to be the one that takes the chase and tries to buy my teammates as much time as possible so that they can heal up and work on generators or do whatever they need to do. So long story short, don't be scared to take the chase. Alright, now let's talk about the 2 most common ways that you can save a teammate who has actually already been picked up by the killer. The first one I want to talk about is the flashlight save. Now with flashlight in hand, and hopefully you're not noticed by the killer, you're going to want to start shining the flashlight around the killer's neck/face area as he's kind of finishing picking them up, and you want it to actually do the blind right as he is done picking them up. The timing can be a little bit tricky to learn because if you blind him too early, he actually will not drop the survivor, and if you try to blind him too late, then he will be able to turn his screen away from your flashlight before the blind kicks. No. Damn. This next clip I made extra blurry because I was sick and tired of hearing all the complaints about, oh, your videos are too clear, I can see too well. So I decided to make it a little bit more spicy. I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, the recording for this clip unfortunately got corrupted, so I had to download it from my live stream, and when I downloaded it, it was super blurry, so this is what we get. Dropping a pallet on the killer as they're picking up a teammate can make them drop it, but the timing is similar to flashlights. You have to do it right when they are able to start walking. If you do it before they can actually start walking, then they will not drop the survivor. And side note, they don't have to be directly under the pallet. They can be a little bit away from it, so go for it if you're not sure if it's gonna hit. Another option for saving a teammate who is being carried by the killer is body blocking, which is basically just standing in the killer's way while he is trying to walk to the hook. And buy your teammate enough time to wiggle free before he can get to the hook. Just keep in mind that the killer can still hit you while he is carrying somebody, so if he manages to hit you and still get the hook, then you basically just gave away a hit for free, so use this one at your own risk. Admittedly, I almost forgot to add this one into the video, but with a toolbox in your hand, you can actually walk up to a hook, wait for the killer to get close to it, and then just sabotage it right before he can hook the survivor, which will force him to look for a different hook and hopefully give your teammate enough time to wiggle out of his grasp and run free. Alright, let's talk about some of the things that you can do while the killer's chasing you to buy as much time as you possibly can. Up first is always utilize your third-person camera view to the best of your ability to keep tabs on the killer's direction and on his distance from you. As you can see right there, I vaulted the window and then I immediately started checking behind me to see if he was going to change direction, and when he changed direction, guess what I did? I also changed direction. I did not want to run straight into him, so I went the other way, circled back around, vaulted the window again, just trying to waste as much of his time as I possibly can before I eventually have to throw that pallet and get out of the shack. Alright, next on the list is going to be have a plan in place for your next move, whether that is the next pallet you're going to make it to, the next window you're going to vault, the next tile you're going to try to lose the killer at, something along those lines. Try to have some sort of plan in place, and this can be kind of tricky to learn. There is a perk that helps a lot. It's used in a lot of the clips that you're seeing in this video, which highlights the pallets and windows, and for some reason the breakable walls, which you can't really do much with, but that perk is called Windows of Opportunity, and I highly suggest it if this is something that you struggle with. So unlock Kate Denson, get Windows of Opportunity, and start practicing how to have a plan in place for what your moves are going to be to keep distance between you and the killer. This next tip is another one that can sound a little bit counterintuitive, but I promise you it is well worth learning because it can pay off a lot of the time. Now, it's not going to apply in every situation, but this tip is going to be slower is sometimes better, meaning sometimes it's better to slow down, stop running for a second, and wait until you know what the killer's next move is going to be, and then react to that accordingly. Whereas if you would have just kept running the way that you originally chose, and then the killer doubles back or changes direction or something to cut you off, you could get caught off guard and end up getting screwed for it. So you can see there's a few times in this chase here where I just kind of stop in place, wait and see what the killer's move is going to be, rather than continuing the direction I was going, and it actually pays off just waiting to see what he's going to do. Now, in my experience, I do find that the slower is better strategy tends to work a lot more frequently on outdoor maps where you can have multiple different avenues that the killer could take to try to cut you off or switch up his game plan. Where if you're on an indoor map, it's oftentimes just a better idea to hold W, which is a term that people often use on DBD that just means keep running. So if you're playing indoors, I would say just keep on running because you already know that the fastest way and sometimes the only way that the killer is going to get to you is by following the same exact route that you took. which means if you slow down to see what he's gonna do, he's just gonna get to you even faster, and you got no benefit out of it. So long story short, if you're on an outdoor map, feel free to try to practice the slower is better strategy, whereas if you're on an indoor map, it's usually, in general terms, a better idea to just hold W. But keep in mind that the slower is better strategy and the hold W strategy are both very situational tips and definitely take a lot of time and practice to learn when to apply them and when not to. So don't be scared to try it. It might fail, but it's worth learning. Next up is fake vaulting. If you're not sure if you're gonna make the vault on time before the killer can hit you, the killer is probably wondering the same thing. So he might start a lunge attack, and when he does, you can just keep running, which will make him swing and miss you. Just keep in mind, if you are running alongside the wall that the vault is on, then you typically wanna just keep running the same direction you were already running. Whereas if you're coming from an open area and kind of running straight head on towards the vault, then it's usually a better idea to do sort of like a spin move when the killer starts his lunge attack and try to spin around them. And bonus tip, if you are playing against the mastermind and you successfully pull off a fake vault on a window or a pallet and he does his dash attack, it will actually force him to vault the window or pallet, putting him on the other side of it, and it is very funny and quite satisfying. I got him with that. And since we are on the topic of vaulting, let's talk about the 3 different types of vaults that you can do. The first one is a normal slow vault, which is where you just walk up to the vault and climb over it without holding sprint. This is the only one of the 3 vaults that will not give away your location to the killer with a noise notification. If you do a sprint vault, but you come at it from sort of an angle, then it will give you a similar animation type of vault, but you'll just do it quicker. This will notify the killer of your location. And then the third and final type of vault is when you run at it head on and sprint into it and then vault it. You'll get a really fast vault. If you're in chase, typically you want to line it up so that you can get a fast vault. Alright, and the final chase related tip that I want to talk about today is a little trick that I like to refer to as the 360 Fakie Killer Spinner Ankle Breaker Jukebox 9000, also known as a 360. Now, the general idea of this trick is to act like you're gonna go one way right before the killer hits you, and then last second, as he starts his lunge attack, just do a full spin around him the opposite direction, and then just try to get as much distance out of it as you can to try to make it to the next window or pallet or whatnot. And I do want to emphasize, this is not something that you should rely on to keep you alive, because it is not going to work consistently no matter how good you get at it. And quite honestly, it is easily counterable by the killer just by having a little bit more patience with his attack, or if he's just really good at doing flicks. So not something to rely on, but I would still practice it, because when it does work, it can save your life, and it is one of the most satisfying feelings in Dead by Daylight when it pays off. No chance, that just worked. Now let's talk about the end game. In a perfect world, obviously, the generators would all get done and the exit gates would get open and all 4 survivors would leave out the door alive. However, unfortunately, it is not always quite that simple. For example, let's say your whole team has died other than you. You are now the last standing survivor. The game will actually open up a hatch that you can escape through, but if the killer finds it first, then he will close the hatch. So this is when the hatch offering can come into play that I talked about earlier in the video. If somebody on your team, or even if the killer decides to use one of the offerings to spawn the hatch either at the killer shack or at the main building, then there is a huge chance that it will spawn. It's not a guarantee, but there is a huge chance that it will spawn in the said location. And so you can see in this video here, I knew that there was, I think I was actually the one that used the Killer Shack hatch offering. So I knew that as my last teammate was getting moried here, the hatch was going to spawn at or near the Killer Shack. So I tried to take as long of a route around possible to not get seen while my teammate was getting killed. And then I just waited nearby the Killer Shack. And as you can see, it opens right there and I escape with my life. This next clip I really wanted to use in the video because it actually showcases 2 different things that are valuable to know. One of which is the power of adrenaline. As you can see here, I am slugged on the ground, but I am the last person alive. And right there, the killer just closed the hatch. And so my adrenaline kicks in and actually picks me up off the ground and puts me back into the injured state instead of being in the dying state. So I don't think I mentioned that earlier when I talked about adrenaline, but if you are down on the ground and the last generator gets done or the hatch gets closed, it will either take you from the dying state into the injured state, or if you're injured and already up, it will put you into the fully healed state. And the second thing that this clip showcases is the 24% strategy, which is basically where you are the last one alive and the exit gates are powered, and your goal here is going to be to get the gate to 24%, which is the letter C in escape. If you stop it at the letter C without going all the way to the letter A, then it will actually not turn on the red light above the gate switch, and that way the killer will have no idea if you have been at that gate or not. So then you just go hide, wait for the killer to come check that gate, and then once he leaves that gate to go check the other gate, you go and finish the remainder of the gate that you already started, which will give you a 24% head start on getting that gate open and dramatically increase your chances of getting it open and escaping before the killer comes back to check that gate. Just be wary if you are attempting this while injured. The killer can easily hear your cries of pain if you are nearby him, so try to pick a hiding spot where he is not going to travel through or super close to. Alright guys, so I got my loadout on that I shared with you guys at the beginning of this video. It is now time for us to hop into a match, and I'm going to walk you through my thought process throughout the match, as well as touch on a few other things such as the sprint burst and deja vu strategies, and I'm sure all sorts of other stuff. I'll talk a little bit more about kindred and potentially adrenaline depending on how the end game goes. So let's get right into it. Alright, now as soon as we spawn in, we basically want to get right on a generator. I'm not going to waste any time just standing around or hiding, and I am going to actually use my sprint burst and just go closer to the 3-gen setup. You can see these highlighted generators are very close to each other, and uh-oh, killer's already nearby. Is this Mastermind? I think that's what the music is. So yeah, my goal here is going to be to try to get to one of these 3-gen generators. Looks like Leon is being chased, so I'm just going to sprint right over here. Oh, it's Trickster. That's whose music that is. Yeah, I'm going to sprint right over here. I'm going to get on this generator so that we can hopefully break the 3-gen, which is basically meaning... So for instance, right now, these 3 generators that are highlighted are super close to each other. So let's say those were the last 3 generators left on the map. It would be extremely easy for the killer to just patrol this tiny little portion of the map and make it so that we can get nothing done. So in order to counter that, what we're going to do early in the game is use our deja vu to work on these generators, and that will make it so that later in the game, the remaining generators are very spread out, and it's a lot harder for the killer to patrol and control. So yeah, and on top of that, we get the 6% repair speed bonus for working on the highlighted generators. So yeah, our first teammate, our teammate did just go down, unfortunately, and we haven't gotten any generators done yet, but we do have decent progress on 3 different generators, so this really isn't that bad of a situation. I'm gonna stay on this and see what the killer does. Looks like he already found one of our teammates, and a different one is going for the unhook, so I'm just gonna stay productive here and try to get this generator done as soon as possible. Ooh, that guy just went down extremely quickly. That's not good. I would say we are now at a point where we're a little bit behind this game. So it does look like Leon got taken off the hook already, so hopefully he gets healed up. I think I have time to finish this generator real quick and then maybe go get the unhook. I'm just gonna sprint burst straight into that direction and see if the killer comes right back or not. Okay, yeah, so I can get the unhook here, and then I'm just gonna heal my teammate up right away, because I'm sure Trickster is looking for the other people. Oh, he doesn't want to let me heal him. Okay, that's not good. I don't know what he's thinking. Okay, my turn to get chased, I guess. Try to dodge as many of those as I can. I'm gonna go back this way. I'm just trying to waste his time here. Waste his time, waste his knives. Okay, didn't get to use that pallet like I would have liked to, but he might be out of knives now. Which means I'm... Oh, nope, he is not. Okay, that's not good. He's got to be close, though. I'm wasting his time, wasting his time. I'm going to run this way, see if he chases. Yes, he does. So, oh, somebody... Wow, he has bamboozle. Yeah, he's refilling, so I'm probably gonna go down here, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Okay, I wasted a good amount of his time though. That got that allowed our team to work on a decent amount of generator work, so I will take it. Wasn't the best chase, wasn't the worst chase. We already are down to 1 generator remaining, so this is looking okay now. This was a little bit of a comeback. We had a kind of a bad start, but that chase, I think, really helped us get some momentum back. Let's see, what's our team doing? Somebody's working on a gen over there. Leon's moving in for the unhook, so that's good. We do still have the heartbeat, so we should probably just get the hell out of here. I'm not sure what direction he is though. Okay, looks like he's chasing Leon and not me, so I'm just gonna run over here and get to work on this generator. We want pressure on multiple generators. I could run over there and help him on the same one, but that would take a lot of running and I would have to run right past the killer while I'm injured. So instead, I'm just gonna split he wants to heal me. Thank you, Dwight. I appreciate you. I'm gonna split the pressure on the generators here so that he knows that he has to keep running back and forth. Now, my strategy with sprint burst here is going to be as soon as I get to the 99% refilled, I'm actually going to start sprinting. And what that's going to do is make it so that, well, I might just have to get the unhook right away here. Okay. I might have to be the one that gets chased again, unfortunately. Dwight ideally would be the one that gets chased, but I don't think he's really interested in doing that. So I'm gonna see if I can get him to follow me over here while I have some time. No. Okay, I was hoping to get a good head start on the chase, but still make him chase me, but he didn't fall for it. So at this point, just got to get on a generator. We just need gens going. Okay, Dwight is the one that's about to go down, so that gives us time to work on this generator, which is great. That's his first hook, so that's why I was saying he should be the one that goes down right now. And now I am the only one that's full health, so I could go either way right now. Healing this guy could be the smart play, but if the killer comes over here, I'm just gonna try to take the chase myself. Oh, he got saved. He didn't even get hooked. I didn't even see that. Nice. Oh, this is huge. I think we might be able to get all 4 of us out this game. Let's go. Okay. There's a door there and a door there, so ideally, I would like our teammate. You know what, Dwight? Do you need heals? Let's get you healed up. I really want at least 3 of us out the door, if not all 4. Somebody is opening one of the doors. I'm assuming he ran that way. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm kind of assuming. Me and Dwight are both full health. Okay, door's open. Nice, and Trickster's over here. So yeah, this door's gonna be open. Dwight, we need to leave at the same time to make sure. Okay, now I am just gonna kind of hover here, mainly because I want to make sure my team gets out. So I'm sure that they're gonna get out, but I just want to make sure. And oh dude, Leon, thank you so much. He is just buying time. I just don't know where our other teammates at, unfortunately. Did he see me? Dwight, you better have left, buddy. Dwight, no. I'll try to buy you a little bit of time, but if I go into the injured state, you're on your own, buddy. Yep, okay. We all got out. Let's go. Ooh, that was looking a little sketchy there when Dwight let himself go down there, but we bought him time to get out. You know, I easily could have just ran out the gate and left, but Dwight would have been probably screwed in all honesty. He would have got picked up and hooked. So I am going to hit him with a nice little GG. Keep the good sportsmanship going. All right, guys, if you made it this far into the video, please hit me with a subscribe. I will definitely be making more DBD content, so look forward to that. And if this video helped you in any way, or if you just found it entertaining, a like on the video would mean a lot to me. I spent so much time making this video, kind of an embarrassing amount of time making this video, to be honest with you. And the final thought is watch content creators play this game live if you truly are still trying to get better at the game. Personally, I live stream this game every single day. My Twitch is the same as my YouTube, Ken Must Game, and the link will be in the description. But I don't really claim to be very good at this game. I am still a bit of a noob myself, so this is kind of like a made for noob by noob type video. But there is one that stands out in my mind as a really helpful person to watch, and he's genuinely funny, and his content is super awesome. His name is Aaron. You probably already have heard of him, but if you haven't, go check him out on Twitch and on YouTube. He is a huge part of the reason why I was able to get a lot better at this game as quickly as I did. So give him a follow, give him some watch time, and I promise you it will make you better at Dead by Daylight. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good rest of your day. Get out there and get surviving.